There is indeed a famine in the land. Today, we're going to continue our series on three hidden famines that we started when we first presented you here on Grid Holistic Living about the three hidden famines. We indicated that the war that is on the horizon and that's going on in the East, looking at Iran, United States, and Israel, part of what's occurring may have residual effects that can impact food distribution. Therefore, you have food shortages on the shelves. And you may not see it necessarily immediately, but from the summer, as you move into the fall into 2027, you're going to see the impact as we consider what went on in the spring or winter of 2026 and beyond, indeed, whether it's gas prices, food prices, etc. So if you haven't seen this one where we kicked off the series, the three types of famine, please be sure to do so, fan out and share. And if you have not considered becoming a member of Holistic Living at any age, we don't just discuss surface level topics, we go diving deep. And today is no different, where we consider and remember those that were lost um, in this process, but certainly will not be forgotten, as E.T. remembers beautiful Ashley Janae Robinson. Today, we're here to discuss 5 signs that you're sleeping with an enemy, because in the photos we have before you, indeed, it was about sleeping with an enemy. Here's a picture of former deputy mayor of Coral Springs, Nancy Mathieu Browen, and being laid to rest, she was unalived by her husband. And here we have again the latest update with Ashley Janae Robinson, indeed. But it's important to know that it's not just within the Black community, and that's why we say there's a global famine. And because there is a spiritual shortage, there's a lack of spiritual food, either because we're not consuming it, we're not seeking to consume it, or it's just not available to the places where we hope it would be. Are your pastors, are your deacons telling you the truth in terms of what does says the Most High? And now we're on a biblical level. And we live in a point in time that we can't afford to shy away from that discussion if you're wondering what's happening in the land beyond the justice, beyond due diligence, beyond justice being served. It's about what's happening globally. Here we have a young man and woman in a school in the Western area, and he's unalived by this person, allegedly. At least this person was put into custody, and this looked like a friend, right? So this very well might be like a college friend, and we use that word friend loosely. So something went on there. We could also consider this is another picture of the students and the discussions that they were having within their own community. So this looked like, I believe, according to the news, is a Pakistani community young lady, young man unalived by someone they knew within their community. And here we have of at some point in time there was an unaliving of a man and his family. Um, and we're seeing more and more of that. Again, the term sleeping with the enemy. And it's important that we highlight certain pictures because you need to see it's not just a Black problem. Here we have in England, it looks like a Middle Eastern family that was unalived. And here, this, I believe, that looks like the British flag. So it is indeed global. It is happening in every continent. So those of you who are indeed, um, this is Samara Nasir. This name sounds Pakistanis, Middle Eastern, and anyone who knows the origin of these names, you can correct me. What I'm right about is what's going on globally. And you have all people from all backgrounds being impacted. This young lady was engaged. She thought this was the beginning of the next chapter of her life, like we all think. But unfortunately, with a lack of spiritual discernment, she wasn't aware she was sleeping with the enemy. Again, there's a famine in the land. You have that of the predator that is saying this is okay without a conscience. And you have the victims that are not spiritually aware because they lack discernment. And this is the part we want to flag and highlight so that if you have a prayer life, you need to make it stronger. If you don't believe, maybe you need to come into the truth believing biblical community because there's a spiritual battle that's going on, and those who are not aware of it may find themselves in similar predicaments. There's a famine in the land. So let's consider lack of integrity and lack of character. There's a famine when it comes to famine of integrity and character. And what does that look like? So you will be more mindful. Well, weaponize vulnerability. If you share your most precious moments and secrets with that person without vetting them over a period of weeks, months, years, person, when you have a disagreement, they're going to use it and weaponize it against you, either in person and sometimes it can be public, or they could share it with their family and friends and with your family and friends to mock you, to belittle you. Indeed. The second one, the Jekyll and Hyde public persona. You have individuals who are celebrated by the world as a pillar of the community. And as in this case, we have the vice governor of Virginia, Lieutenant Justin Fairfax. He was classified as one member of the community, a pillar of his community, a great spouse. It's fair to say that someone thought that way. He married a young lady during their college days. She was a dentist, Dr. Serena Fairfax, doing very well. And here, behind closed doors, when she decided to file a divorce for fill in the blank, the person became irate, cold, volatile, indifferent. And as a result, when it makes news, clearly there's a discrepancy between the hallmark of someone's character versus the famine that persuaded them that this was the right thing to do, that this was the only solution to their problems. Number three, pathological defensiveness. There's a total absence of accountability if you bring up a concern for your safety or the well-being of the children. The conversation is immediately flipped to make you the aggressor. And that very well could be the case of this young man who unalived his 8 kids. We know how his story ended, right? And unfortunately, that also meant some innocent lives were lost. 8, to be very specific. Then we have the erosion of autonomy. In this case, the perpetrator slowly isolate you from your support system, family, friends, under the guise of protection or us against the world. And this creates a dependency that makes you a target. And this very well could be that story of Ashley Janae Robinson. She felt special. She wanted to travel. That was her dream. Someone looking at her images on social media identified this can be one way to lure this person away, promises of a jet set life. Private jets flying from here to there, making you feel like a princess, making you feel like Cinderella indeed. And according to some reports, the parents or the mother warned her about maybe not just the lifestyle, but about this particular relationship. Because one person, one parent, or both parents had some level of discernment, but she's a young adult. And ultimately, the decision is hers. And I would say a poor decision indeed. May she rest in peace. But this is a very good example when we consider the erosion of autonomy. And then the fifth one would be gut level hypervigilance. That's what I consider really listening to the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. You find yourself walking on eggshells even when things are calm. Your body's nervous system is reacting to a threat that your mind is trying to rationalize away. But then you still have the Holy Spirit warning you in a dream, right? In a vision through someone else. And you have a number of things coming in, lending to that gut reaction that, I'm not sure, but because you have made it so far and you admired fill in the blank, or you desire fill in the blank, or you coveting fill in the blank, you ignore what's being presented to you. And as a result, you have a different undertaking as well. And it may force you indeed to make decisions you may not necessarily have made if you were operating with a level of due diligence. So, in terms indeed, there's a famine in the land, and what we did today, not the point blame, this is primarily to get those who are living, still have the breath of life, to go through a level of introspection, determine whether the person that you're talking to, the person that you're engaged to, the person that you're married to, whether one or all five applies. And if one of these apply, that should give you a level of concern that you need to not only tell family and friends close to you, you try to get spiritual and psychological help together as a couple for counseling. And if the person continues to avoid that conversation, you yourself go, right? If you're already married, you take extra steps and make a decision if the person is willing to get help. If not, then you have to pray about it and make other decisions for your safety. If you're not married, if it's an engagement, break it off. If it's a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, break it off because you have not yet created that covenant, that agreement in the eyes of the Most High. So there's still time, right? But many of us rush into those relationships that end up being the wrong partner, the wrong marriages. And that's another reason when you consider the spiritual side of it, not operating in discernment, we run to have the ceremony, not understanding the long-term commitment, what that looks like. And eventually you have a higher divorce rate as well. But that's a different topic for a different story when we slowly unpack it. Today we discussed 5 signs you're sleeping with an enemy. You need to wake up before it's too late. And this can happen male, female, female, male. It can go either way. Even though we may not have all of the visuals to show you, it's happening in every continent, every country, every island, every city, every town, every village, because there's a global spiritual famine. Take the time to go through this checklist and be prepared to do the work. Your life just may be at stake. And in addition to that, we want to encourage you, if by chance you have not turned that good book, the Bible, this is the perfect time to do so. If by chance you have not gone to a fellowship that's Bible-based, Sabbath-based, and feast day-based, you may want to do so. This is the time to do so. Second Chronicles 7:14. That's what you need to do. And for those of us who are looking at the New Testament, the Besorah, understand when the adulteress came to Yahushua Mashiach, who the world knows as Jesus Christ. He didn't condemn her, so this is not a condemnation. These individuals need to rest in peace now. He said, go and do it no more. And that's an important piece that many in our community and many people forget. When things get better, they run back. It's important that we do not operate in a level of physical weakness, right? And it's about discipline. And if you need a one-on-one coach, accountability partner, when it comes to discipline and being organized and being intentional in terms of wanting your best life, living your best life, whole health, whole life, whole you. You certainly want to be part of our journey. Go ahead and subscribe if you have not subscribed to Holistic Living at any age. Right now, we're talking about the crisis that we're having on a global level, not just the impending physical famine, but the spiritual, and of course, that lends to the emotional famine that's happening on this earth. You certainly want to go ahead and subscribe to Great Holistic Living and be aware when we bring an alternate perspective to the frontline news. We do deep dive, we go deep down, looking at the soul, understanding what's really going on. And then you want to go ahead, we have a link here. You want to join our community. We do have a holistic community on the other side, good holistic community. We want you to come into our oasis so you'll have the level of peace wherever you are in the world and understand what that means, right? It's really about understanding who you are and whose you are. And we're here to provide you with that information. So this has been part of the Great Holistic Living family. And if by chance you say you don't have a family, so that you can go to, we have a family right here in Grid Living, because it's about being intentional. And if you love and you want to live your best life yet at any age, whether you're 15 or you're 95, your best life yet, and you don't have anyone, come on, you'll meet your spiritual family, right? So thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of the conversation. Be sure to subscribe to Grid. Be sure you subscribe to Grid Holistic Living. And we're going to unpack when we meet again 5 signs you're hanging around frenemies. So you're sleeping with the enemy. The next discussion is you're hanging around your frenemies. You need to be mindful. You need to be mindful indeed. Family, that's it for now. Until we meet again, take care of yourself and each other.